welcome back to my channel AI True Skill. This is Sirisha Ross, your host. So today's guest is Jeron Mastrud, a former NFL tight end who defied the odds to play 4 seasons with teams like Miami Dolphins and Oakland Raiders. After his football career, he transitioned into an entrepreneur as the co-founder of Apex Performance, Wellness, and Rehab, building it from a small startup into a high-performance wellness brand focused on helping people get more out of life. He's also the author of Stand Tall, where he shares his philosophy on leadership and building high-performance teams. Let's welcome Jeron Mastrud onto our show. Welcome, Jeron.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So, Jeron, thanks for being on our show. So, take us back a bit. What did the journey look like from your NFL days to what you're building now with Apex?
Well, it's I would say what we have going on now at Apex definitely has resemblances of different parts of my journey all the way from middle school up to where I'm at now as a father of 3. And that's not the main reason why, but it was one reason why we started what we have at Apex. I experienced a lot of different sports injuries, middle school, high school, college, and pro. Things like ankle sprains, hamstring pulls, or things that are a little more severe that required a little bit more rehab, like meniscus surgeries, stress fractures, and things of that nature. And going through each of those experiences at each of those different levels made me realize that, not everyone has the same people in their corner that I naturally had, with my dad being a strength conditioning coach and a football coach, and then also having resources and access to qualified people to help with the rehab. But even having those same resources, I've noticed that I wasn't met with the same type of facility layout and ongoing care and testing. Part of the problem is technology wasn't as great in the mid 2000s as it is today in the mid 2020s. So a lot of those experiences that I had growing up through sports made us look at what can we bring to our community in the Portland, Oregon area that isn't there now, that would really help athletes reach their desired level of performance without having the limitation or looking back and saying, I could have made it, but I had this knee thing or ankle or whatever it was. So that was some of the foundation for how we started, also stemming with some of the experiences I had professionally at the NFL level and bringing in some technology that would really help athletes improve quickly. But as we started working through that, we realized and created a quick reputation for working with athletes and getting great results that, parents that were in their younger years or middle-aged were looking around and wondering, hey, what if I could get those same results that the athletes are getting and get rid of the knee pain that I've had for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, or maybe eliminate some of the nagging residual effects of an ACL surgery back when they were in high school or something of that nature. And that just opened up our audience to a little bit older demographic, and it got a little older from there. And then we slowly just started adding more and more services that I realized weren't in the marketplace in the area to help us continue to stand out, but more importantly, continue to get better results with everybody that we were working with. And moving from one 10 by 10 square foot room in 2014 to where we're at today in nearly 10,000 square feet with strength training, turf, DEXA scans, VO2 max, force plate testing technology, and a lot of other great stuff that are all under one place, all kind of stemmed from some of those experiences that I had through middle school on to pro. What was missing in the area and what we could do to bring out the best in everyone in the area now, and also help them live healthier lives while they transition into their professional lives, becoming parents and even grandparents. And that's kind of where we're at today.
Fantastic. Yeah, thank you. So everything under one hood. So that's great. That's one-stop shop. So let's go back with NFL. So what part of your identity from the NFL did you have to unlearn to become an entrepreneur?
Repeat that question one more time.
So what part of your identity from the NFL did you have to unlearn to become an entrepreneur? Because it's 2 different fields.
Totally. I would definitely say that the average person walking around daily is nowhere close to being able to comprehend the level of criticism and pressure, I'd say, that a NFL athlete is facing. That's not to say that other professions don't have pressure or criticism or critique or evaluations. It's just not to the extent that you're going to get as an NFL player. And there's only one moment to become an NFL player. There's no other alternative for people out there. Once you come through college football and go into the singular and only opportunity for nearly every single person to go into the NFL, it's make it or break it every single moment and every single day. And every other profession doesn't even offer anything close to that level of pressure, stress, or required performance on a daily basis. So knowing that I was coming from something so demanding and so high level, where you're one of few people in the world that do this job, if you want to call it a job, having to realize that people aren't going to understand that and be able to work with you or resonate with you on that level was something that I've had to continuously unlearn, especially as we built a team at Apex and working with other people that, hey, they're not here to play in the NFL. They're just here to get in a little bit better shape. They're here to lose maybe 10 pounds, whatever that is. I've been able to pick little bits and parts of things that I did learn and have in me innately that helped me get to that level, and that I learned along the way from a lot of great coaches, and provide some of those small pieces to the general population or a youth athlete and help them move up one notch or two or three or however far they're willing to go. But just knowing that, hey, not everyone is here wanting to push themselves to that degree or able to push themselves to that degree, and that's totally fine. It's just a different life outside of the NFL than it is inside of it.
Right. So, yeah, I think you covered my second question as well. So, was there a moment after NFL where things did not go as planned?
Oh, there's been plenty. I mean, I'd say every few years or so, there's always something that kind of pops up and throws a wrench in whatever you think is smooth sailing or, a good positive journey. I'd say one of the first ones that popped up for me was getting out of the NFL and finally having started Apex before I was even done playing in the NFL, having started Apex and realizing, okay, we have something good. Let me dedicate myself more to this because I know the time in the NFL is going to be short and end, at some point, whereas the time in business can last a lifetime and build, something that I could even pass down potentially to my children. And I thought, hey, well, I could get there and get going with that. And that was always a passion of mine growing up. Having, like I said, with what my dad did for his job growing up, I always found the human body fascinating and what it was capable of. I always liked anatomy and physiology classes that I took, but I always loved business, sales, and things of that nature as I moved through school, and that was actually my degree. So I wanted to apply that and get into that and start getting some hands-on experience with it because you don't have a ton of time to do that while you're playing football in the NFL level. So moving out of the NFL, I finally started living I guess what you'd call a regular life and, working and, maybe not working out as much. And I neglected my own health and wellness and fitness because I'd just been kind of burnt out on the elite level of training required to compete at the NFL level, let alone just make a team. And I gained a ton of weight and got myself into a really unhealthy state really fast. And that was a big eye opener for me from, kind of the end of 2016. I would say most of 2016 and into the start of 2017. And then I realized, hey, I'm going to need to make a change. And I got my first DEXA scan with us at Apex and started implementing some changes and saw some good results. And that was one of the first times where I realized, outside of all the things that I experienced from a football standpoint, here's where I'm at now as an adult in my late 20s, overcame that, transitioned into business. I'd say the next big challenge came once COVID hit. Every place in the world and every, even different counties and towns in certain states had different situations going on that not everyone could relate to, but we had a very strict lockdown environment and had a lot of what we were doing at Apex instantly pulled out from underneath us for nearly 2 years. And it was challenging to overcome that and realize, hey, there's something that you don't have control of. You're going to have to find different ways around this. You're going to have to find different ways to work through this. But I knew my previous life in the NFL always taught me, hey, you might be down, but there's no need to be counted out. And if you keep getting back up, there's always a route you can keep taking to keep improving, keep getting better, and keep doing something. I feel like I get, a lot of things and challenges that life throws at you. People always take the easy route and give up. And there was definitely a lot of times where that seemed like the best move to make. But right when I thought about that, or that thought crossed my mind, something opened up and a new tunnel seemed to appear and allowed us to explore. And we were able to transition out of those 2 hard years and get out of the, place we were at, get things restored to where they were previously and then some, and continue to grow from there. So that was probably one of the biggest hurdles I faced professionally. And then last year was, a very tough one. I welcomed twins into the world and already had a 2-year-old. Having 3 under 3 really put a lot of pressure and stress on me individually. And
Mm-hmm.
then, put pressure on my relationship with my wife, put pressure on me, and my family, and having a new dynamic in the house, and all of that just created a situation that I wasn't quite realizing from a health perspective. Obviously, everyone would know the lack of sleep, probably inconsistent eating, and the stress mounting would cause challenges, but you just don't feel them day in and day out. And all of a sudden, some months pass and there's a new you showing up in the mirror. Might have a little less energy, might have a little more weight on your body. And that was the case for me. And that was similar to what I experienced in 2016 and 17. And I was able to just kind of revisit that, revert back to that, although being a little bit harder because now I'm about 10 years older at that
Mm-hmm.
point than I was then. But just having to work back through that and take some of those same steps and be patient with myself and realize, hey, this isn't going to be an overnight change. I didn't get here overnight. So it's not going to unravel and unwind overnight. So having to just rebuild step by step and day by day was a good learning experience. And even though it was something I learned before, it was just being presented in a different format. So that was, and I would say those probably 3 big hurdles I've had outside of the NFL that have kind of shaped where I'm at today.
That's awesome. Congratulations. And
Yeah. Thank you.
I totally can see. I have twin boys, and yeah, I can totally see how that can be a setback. But again, it's a good setback. So
Oh, yeah.
you're yeah, you're learning. I think everyone is in their learning phase until they pass on. So yeah, it's like everything is an experience.
Totally.
So the next, so let's step into the business angle from here onwards. So what was the original vision behind Apex, and how has it evolved? And so the question behind is like, what are the different services that you provide, and where did that vision come from?
Well, I would say it goes back to just knowing what I went through as a young athlete and thinking, hey, this was good to just maybe alleviate the pain or get me to the point where I could return or be quote unquote cleared to return. And I think that's a problem for a lot of athletes at any level, but especially at a younger level. I felt pressure because, you only have so many years and so many moments to showcase yourself to college coaches to then warrant, hey, I deserve a scholarship at that level. And having a surgery at the end of my sophomore year when I was setting up for a big breakout junior season, instead of building upon what I did as a sophomore and improving even more, I was instead set back and rehabbing, which I learned later in the same situation about, 5 years later in college. One of my trainers let me know, hey, it's a very defeating moment for a lot of athletes to have to go through a surgery and a rehab experience. However, it's a great opportunity to reinvent yourself as an athlete and look at a lot of things that you otherwise wouldn't take the time for because you don't feel the pressure to do so because you're healthy. So it gave me the opportunity to understand that there's things out there that are able to help people at their high school or who they may have access to in their own network, but it wasn't something that was readily available or was well known all in one place. So those personal injuries and experiences early on really created the vision for where we are today. But then I would say through our first few years of kind of figuring out, what's our niche, what are we doing well at, and then saying, okay, how could we support what we're doing well with right now? That created the broader vision of where we are today. So I'd say the first 3-4 years of Apex from 2014 to 18 really helped lay the foundation from 18 to where we are in 2026 and where we're headed from there.
Okay. And what kind of services that you provide, just so our audience knows what you provide?
We have a lot of services. I'd say the core 4 services are physical therapy. That's what we started first and foremost with. The second one is where we get a lot of our customers from, although it's kind of a here and there service for people, and that's the DEXA scan. We have a lot of people that organically find us online for that. And then after that, strength training being a pillar, both for youth athletes and adults. The physical therapy is also for youth athletes and adults.
Mm-hmm.
The DEXA scan's more for adults. There's not really a huge need to do that until you start entering into your 20s. And then nutrition. Nutrition is a cornerstone thing that can help you recover quicker, whether it's going through an injury recovery and or strength training and workout recovery. So those are kind of the 4 big pillars of where we really help people, but they fall under our Apex PWR isn't just Apex Power, it's Apex Performance Wellness and Rehab. So performance department is where all of the training is handled: speed, strength, power training for youth athletes, team training, private training, things like that. Same thing on the adult side, one-on-one, private small groups, or you can join our group training, or we have corporate wellness training where we work with companies to bring teams of people in for team building, but also positive workout experiences where they can either understand what they can do better at their own facility or do with us on an ongoing basis.
Mm-hmm.
The wellness category is headlined by the DEXA and the nutrition, but we also offer resting metabolic rate testing where you can understand how many calories your body burns at rest. And there's also the VO2 max test where you can quantify your cardiovascular fitness. It's also considered one of the gold standards for cardiorespiratory fitness level, which is directly linked to your longevity and your overall lifespan. It's a great way to just monitor cardiovascular fitness improvements as well, but it's also something people are really utilizing to dial in their training regimens. We also offer lactate threshold testing. It's great for people to identify their zone 2, but also if you're a higher end athlete, especially an endurance athlete, it's a great place for you to really understand, here's where I need to be training to reach the levels I need to reach to achieve the times I want to achieve in my endurance sport. Outside of that, we have a brand partnership with Thorne Health where we offer a 25% off lifetime discount on all of their supplements. And that's a big place for us to also work with people, not just locally, where we can provide them, supplement support, even though a strong nutrition foundation is always going to be key. And supplements are called supplements for a reason. They're just there to be supplements wherever you need. They're not meant to be a foundational element to your lifestyle, but supplements play a role for everyone depending upon what it is that they need. Creatine probably being the biggest one for most people out there, and then protein for those that are missing the mark on their protein intake with real food and they're busy. So giving a protein supplement can be nice to have a quality mix in, and Thorne Health has always been an industry leader in both quality and transparency in their testing, and they've been in the game for a long time. So it's nice to have that relationship and be able to work with people all around the world in that regard. Those I would say are our biggest drivers of how we're working with people today.
Yeah, that's a lot. So you're covering the whole industry there with the
Yeah.
nutrition and DEXA scans and physiotherapists, everything. So I remember hearing about you or taking care of sales. So, and also you said you're organically finding people for DEXA scans. So
Yeah.
what about the other clients? How are you finding them? And what's your strategy there to find people?
Early on, social media has evolved so much from 2014 to now. But early on, we had a real strong presence on our Facebook business page that had a lot of reach, and through my personal Facebook page that had a very strong local reach. We evolved into adding Instagram and building that out in a social media presence. And then we added TikTok, and that was really good and really fun for us. But overall now I would say it's through professional connections, medical referral relationships with different orthopedic surgeons, naturopathic doctors, family practice clinics, weight loss clinics. There's a variety of health people out there in our community that we continue to network with and build relationships with because there are different things that we can provide to support their patients. So those referrals are a big one for us throughout the community. I wouldn't say there's one singular place that's bigger than another because different relationships send people for different things or multiple things, especially naturopathic doctors. They usually like to have people utilize solutions like strength training, the DEXA, the VO2 max, and we have evidence-based, strength-based physical therapy for those that may be experiencing an injury and unwilling to just enter into a strength training regimen. So having that resource as a starting point is always great too. We have a person in charge of building those relationships as well as our director of rehab. He works with her to continue to build upon the ones we have and fuel new ones. Outside of that, blogs, email marketing, and our weekly newsletter are all things that we do to continue to foster our current community through email, and then also build a presence and spider web of SEO and other tactics online to have us show up on Google. And I would also say videos on YouTube Short, as well as posting on our Google business page and getting consistent reviews also help us be visible from a Google perspective.
That's awesome. So, who are your competitors against in this industry, and How do you guys?
Well, I would say it kind of depends upon which service you're talking about in terms of competition. I would say if you list any competitor out there for any category that we're in, you're not going to find somebody that provides more than two of the things that we provide. They maybe provide one and they're really good at one, but they don't provide, anything past that one thing or two things. There's a, couple people out there that are really strong competitors in physical therapy. One of them also provides performance training. The other also provides nutrition, but the one that provides nutrition doesn't provide performance training directly. The other one that provides performance training doesn't provide nutrition directly. And neither of them are going to provide things like the DEXA or have the presence and ability to work with the adult populations that we work with as well. So as much as I see people as competition, I also view us as a unique presence where we don't really have someone directly competing with everything that we're offering. You could say imaging facilities would be a competitor for the DEXA scan, but those places aren't offering the VO2 max or the RMR test. And there's a lot of people that want to do two of those or all three of those at once. We also provide more of a direct access, whereas other people going to those other facilities need a referral or a different visit in order to get into those, which would take more time and money. We're able to cut that down. So again, I see us as a better positioned business than those other places. The problem I would say is just having more people understand that they don't need to go through multiple steps, take more time out of their day or spend more money. And it could just come straight to us. But that all would have to do with more paid advertisement and continuous networking.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, did anyone tell you that? Hey, this is like one place I can go for multiple things. So, anyone with a strength training, if they get injury, so they can go to the physical therapist under the same company, so they don't have to establish or register to another competitor of yours. Did anyone come to you and say, "Hey, this is helping us because it's
Oh,
under"?
oh yeah. There's been a lot of people that have, really liked the concept that we offer. There's just plenty of people that, hey, sometimes we're not in the right location of town for them. Expansion, which is on the horizon for us, is critical because it would help us serve more people or people that do know of us and maybe take advantage of us here and there or just infrequently or irregularly. And they would otherwise maybe become a member or, from a business perspective, increase their spend with us. But we would love to have those people and they would love to be with us. They just don't have the ability to make the commute consistently to do so. So expansion would be an opportunity for us to better capitalize on that and build our brand and presence around the community and make a deeper impact because of it.
Okay. Yeah, that brings to my next question, which is a follow up. So, what's the biggest thing slowing down your growth right now?
Well, I would say some of it would have to do with, maybe taking a big step coming out of COVID and in 2022, making a leap into a place that was about 2.5 times bigger, going from 4,000 square feet to 10,000. That was a big jump. And it also required, more equipment, more staff, which all resulted in more expenses and increasing the overhead without the instant, you know, clientele load to support it was a risk, but it's one that's, finally paying off where we're at now, having gone through some, different evolutions of what we've always been trying to do, seeing what could fit, what could work well together, as well as undergoing continuous construction to our space because we didn't have time with one lease ending and one lease beginning. We had to kind of be patient with about 1.5 years of continuous construction before we've had the final product of what we're in now. So we've had all of 2024 and all of 2025 where we have been in a space that looks like the one you see today. And it's now starting to really become more of what we always thought we were, but it now looks like that to somebody walking in for the first time. And now we have the better vision of being able to understand, okay, here's exactly what we would need to go take that across town over to this area and set it up. So we know what we could look for in terms of the size of the space as well as the, cost of the rent.
Okay. Okay. So that's good. And I have a follow up on that. So when you're basically doing this expansion, so are you going to change your sales strategy, or you're going to do whatever you're doing right now, which is working for you? Because it's...
Wait, that's a great question. There's some things that I would do slightly differently. I mean, going into a new space now, I would know, hey, we have time. Whereas before we did not have time. We also weren't moving far. We were moving kind of across the street. So it wasn't some huge location change. Going into a different area of town and saying if it was knowing it would be at least 6 months out, if not more, we'd be able to market more in that area. We'd be able to revisit some of our relationships that we've had in the area that we've always wanted to, build upon, but they've been apprehensive because we only serve one side of town, not both or more areas of town, and other corporate wellness relationships that we've had but haven't been able to, I would say really develop into something great because we're only on one side of town. So I would say getting ourselves to another side of town or more really would open us up naturally to more business. But I would just also be able to better staff it and sell the sports performance and fitness related memberships and services in advance to get people already committed as opposed to opening it up and then starting it again. Those were two things that were really stripped down during COVID that we had going really well starting in 2020, and then most of 2020 and 2021 defeated us in the training space, and we only took clients here and there. And then once we got into the new space, we finally opened up again our training, and now that we would go into a space with, I would say, some leadway, we'd be able to better prepare for getting more people ready to go for the training when that would begin.
Okay, that's fantastic. So, and you brought up staff. So, how many team members do you have currently?
How many team members do we have currently? Let's see. We have 2 trainers in the youth department. We have 4 in the adults. That's 6 in the training department. We have 3 people up front. We have 1 specifically in the wellness. We have 5 physical therapists. And then we have 3 that are part of the executive team. Lost count of that. 5, 3.
Close to 15.
Yeah, 6, 7, 12. I would say more like 17. We have one virtual employee as well. So
Okay.
18.
That's good. Thank you.
Yeah.
So what's your business? So when your business starts growing, so you're talking about the expansion, what starts falling apart first if you did not do something right? So where do you see that?
That's a good question. Where do you start seeing it fall apart first? Let's say we've had ongoing, as we've evolved and grown, communication has been something that we've been continuing to learn and evolve with. I'd say internal communication amongst our team, what we've always thought people wanted to know versus what they've actually wanted to know, and just being more open with what they want to hear and understanding of, kind of where we're at together. I would say also with myself being primarily virtual, another one of the co-founders, co-owners, and, someone who's also driving sales and marketing with myself is also virtual. And then we have someone else who's 100% virtual. Having people that aren't visible on a day-to-day basis, but that have a strong presence in the business and are doing a lot in the business, how do they mesh with everyone else? And how does everyone else understand what everyone's doing and how everyone pieces together to be a part of that bigger vision? That has been one of our biggest ongoing challenges that we've, I'd say, done a much better job with in the last 4 months, and we're liking the direction it's headed in right now. I would say neglecting some of the easy internal cross-selling opportunities always seems to lead to some stagnation. I wouldn't say unraveling, but I would just say stagnation.
So stagnation in sales or stagnation in the operations?
It becomes both. They kind of go hand in hand. There's just a lot of people that come through the doors each month. All the people that come for a DEX or all the people that come for PT or all the people that come to work out, it is shockingly low. Most people would not think it would be that low of people that are only doing that one thing and that one thing only, and walk away not even knowing about the other things, which is even worse. So I'd say kind of taking for granted what we have going and what it is as a whole. Everyone at the business, even myself, can get a little complacent with it and not realize, hey, we're in it day to day. We come here, we understand what's going on, but these other people definitely don't.
It's just communication at that point, because
exactly,
people are curious about, like, okay, if I'm going into a 10,000 fit place, I will be wondering, like, hey, what's in that corner? What is in this corner? And I will kind of poke. I think it's. Do you think it's like lack of people who they can go to, or is it something that you're not paying attention to?
Well, I would say first on a very simple level, it's been something I'm working on now with two other people, refining some of our email sequences. When you first purchase a product or service from us, what are you getting from us? What is it saying about us?
Mm-hmm.
What is that looking like? Because that kind of sets the tone and sets the stage for what's to come next.
Mm-hmm.
That we believe can lead to some big improvements.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone at the space having the freedom and most importantly, confidence to let others know that they're working with what else is available to help them and support them. The things that are all available at Apex are all here because they support people in multiple ways. Maybe it's not the right time today, but for a lot of people, they just don't know about it. So the physical word of mouth right then from one of our own team members to a customer is critical because they could walk out the door wanting something we have and not know about it. And a simple statement about it could have been enough. Now, it's not easy because not everyone has the same level of assertion. Not everyone has the same level of confidence. Not everyone has the same level of, hey, do I have the freedom to say something like this? What if it goes wrong?
Right.
I think
Right.
a lot of people don't know a lot of the stories that myself and the two other co-founders had early on when it was just us on the team. There were plenty of people that gave us, a side eye or a bad look, or maybe felt negative about having something else brought up.
Mm-hmm.
But those few people stand out in our mind, but we forget about the hundreds of other people that said yes,
That's right.
or maybe just simply said, that's not for me today, maybe later. Or that isn't for me right now, but that could work well for my spouse, my friend, my coworker, a family member. For example, many of the adults that come to us, they have kids that play sports. They may want to work out and, not if you come to us in the morning, you have no idea that we do the youth training in the evening because the kids are in school. You don't see them come to our facility until after school. So not knowing that, and if you don't, get on social media, it's hard. I love
Yeah.
social media and hate it at the same time. I don't want to be on it. I want to be more present with my kids and off my phone. But at the same time, it's a great way to showcase everything that you do. But if people aren't on there actively seeing everything you're posting, they're not going to see that you could do something like that. So having and it goes both ways. The kids coming in the evening, maybe their team comes and works out together, but the parents of the kids on that team don't understand, hey, they could work out too at that same time in the group class on the other side of the building. They could do some physical therapy for their back pain or their knee pain.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of just small things that I think we're missing the mark on that hopefully we can continue to improve on how we've been and, set a new standard here at Apex.
Yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, true. I mean, like I totally get it because I do go to a practice where there can be offering something else, and until I go and ask, they'll not even tell me. And some businesses kind of like proactively tell you, hey, we have this. So for example, like I was going to my hairstylist and there was a massage in the same hood, and the lady came out and reached out to me, hey, let me know if you need a massage or you need a facial. I'm here and here is my business card. So
Mhm.
I didn't even know until I was going to that place for 3 years. And so she reached out to me like 6 months ago, and now I'm a new client for her.
That's great.
It just takes like someone roll up their sleeves and just go and say, "Hey, I'm here. If you need anything, just let me know."
That's great. Yeah, it's hard because and especially if you do it once and it's early on and you don't get the response you wanted, and or if it's a negative response, then it all of a sudden feels like, oh, I shouldn't do that again. And
Yeah.
it's hard to overcome that. But that's going back to the questions you asked me before about my previous life as of an athlete, because I didn't play just football growing up, but I ended up playing college and pro football. There are so many things that didn't go the way they were planned or practiced, and that's okay, and that's part of going, playing that sport. And it's tough to bounce back for most people because they haven't gone through a lifetime of that early on and realize, hey, that's just life, and that's kind of the way I see things. So getting told no happens. I've had some things that I wish I handled differently, but they were great learning moments and they've taught me to become better at what I'm doing now. So
Hmm.
it's no reason to just stop entirely or quit and never try again. If, people did that, they never learned how to ride a bike because nobody got on a bike
Right.
and rode a bike the first time. You kept trying. So it's, very similar to that and something I always liken it back to.
Yep. That's how you learn. So
Exactly.
a lot of high performance businesses hit a point where growth isn't about working harder, but
Hmm.
building smarter systems. And AI is starting to play a role here.
Yeah.
So, as you look at the next phase of growth for Apex, where do you see AI playing a role, if at all?
Yeah, we've been that's one of the top things. I've been really entrenched with that now, navigating the ongoing and quickly evolving landscape of AI and seeing what makes sense for us to use and what could be done now and what could be done in the future. Trying to build out and connect different systems are some of the big priorities I've had using AI. Started as a ChatGPT user, like most people probably did, and seemingly trending now, I've transitioned over to Claude, like a lot of people may have,
Mm-hmm.
and using what I can there to create what I hear people, coining as a central brain for your business. And I've been doing that at a smaller level with two of the other remote staff members and experimenting with things so we can figure out what would work for us, what makes sense for us, what doesn't make sense for us, and then how do we implement that on a larger scale. So still working through some things. Like I said, I went to school for business, wasn't any bit a student of coding or anything of that nature, but
Mm-hmm.
been able to learn a lot real quick, and I'm really excited for where we're headed there. But I don't have an exact answer of what it is from an AI perspective we're going to need or do, but I can tell you a lot of things we've experimented with. One of them being a front-facing AI agent that was part of our booking software, and it was great, doing a really good job. But there are a few very bad experiences. It wasn't an agent that was totally ours that we could train better. It was misquoting our DEXA scan service
Mm-hmm.
in the wrong direction for like half the price. And that was not the case. And that was nowhere visible on our website or in our online store. So we were really confused how that was happening.
Hmm.
But now it seems just from that experience 5, 6 weeks ago, it's already been updated and ready to roll out better. I'm just a little hesitant to bring that back right now, but that was something great to have because you don't have front desk staffing 24/7. And one of the things I always wanted from an AI perspective was somebody or something available 24/7 to help people whenever they're ready to book, make a decision, or reach out and have a conversation and just
Hmm.
capture that lead, because I feel like that's a place a lot of small businesses and maybe even big businesses are
Right.
going to miss out on, is capturing people in the moment when they're ready to make a purchase, or I hate to say become a lead, but just when they're willing to have a conversation and give you their email or their phone number
Right.
or hop in the chat with you.
Yeah.
You need to be ready or have something ready to help them get a question answered and move the
Mm-hmm.
dial.
Yeah, that's awesome that you're experimenting around. Yeah, that's like a virtual thing that which is available. I mean, like you can't pay anyone around the clock, so they need to go home at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. Yeah, that's an interesting thing you're venturing on.
Hmm.
So another question at the same AI. So what part of your growth still feels the most manual or harder to scale right now that you can think of AI could solve?
Well, I would still say a lot of it, because there's been some we've tried to make some moves in using AI, and like I said, it's just been from a smaller level. But as we continue to get more and more comfortable and familiar, we're just practicing so that we can roll it out on our bigger level. I would say our biggest challenge has been all of our physical therapy clients exist in a physical therapy software to utilize for billing for insurance purposes. And those people only live in that platform. Whereas everybody else that buys anything from our business lives in a different platform. So they don't have a natural bridge together. So part of what I've always wanted to do or create through AI is bridging that gap, because then if physical therapy patient is to one day book a DEXA scan, or is to one day buy personal training or strength training, or bring their kid in for youth athlete training, and that
Hmm.
same email pops up over there, it wouldn't know that they've been a customer of us. It would treat them
Okay.
as a new customer because it's the first time that they're in that software. So there's a little bridge there that I think that sounds so minute, but to me, if you came for 20 visits or even 2 visits or
Hmm.
one visit for physical therapy,
Hmm.
you should be acknowledged and recognized accordingly when you come for something different. So
Hmm.
that's one thing that I think would just improve our customer experience. And when people people aren't always going to remember everything that you told them, but they will remember how you made them feel. And I think that we can make them feel better appreciated and better welcomed or welcomed back if there was a simple bridge right there for that. But we're switching softwares in the moment right now to one that a couple of our PTs had used before. It has some better features and I think a better opportunity to build that little bridge. So I'm hoping to have that here, I'd say by Memorial Day at the latest, but hopefully maybe by the end of the month.
That's great. So going back to our previous question, I had a follow up on that. So you said you're using AI to book your calls 24/7, and you said you tried something. Is it a tool that you tried, or what's the?
We utilize Wellness Living for our training products, our appointments, our memberships.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a front-facing AI customer service agent called Cassie. And
Okay.
that is something that's part of the platform that we pay for. And we
Okay.
tried to implement it, but it just wasn't working with 100% accuracy. And that was a problem for us.
Okay. Okay. Oh yeah. Thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah.
Because
Sure.
I asked you about AI and you said you are looking at Claude and ChatGPT and then you said AI agent. So I was kind of curious to know, did you write an agent or did you kind of do it or you're partnering
Didn't
with
I
someone?
I've been looking at it and it's funny because I wanted to take that dive. I've been wanting to take that dive for months now, and now I'm just seeing it be easier and easier and easier. And I'm kind of glad I didn't go down the rabbit hole all the way before. But I've been really using a lot of Claude and Chrome, the Claude and Chrome feature, which has been really handy because there's just some simple data in, say, our Thorn store that all lives there, and that doesn't live with our website data. And there's a form specifically for our Thorn discount that people fill out, but there's no bridge from one to another to ever know, did those people get where they were trying to go? We didn't know that. Utilizing Claude and Chrome to create a small bridge there was a pretty big win for me, because you're talking about bridging a few thousand people with nearly 10,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
And understanding like, hey, did these people come from our website or did these people come directly to the store? Were they having success getting in here another way? Just being able to understand your customers more, I think helps you be able to better market and do more in your business. And we were doing a lot very blindly because we couldn't create a collective understanding of some of our best customers that were using multiple things because they were so siloed in different areas.
Okay. Okay. That's interesting. So I
Yeah.
think we're coming to the end of the session here. Just two more questions.
Yeah.
So where do you want to see yourself in 6 to 12 months from now?
6 to 12 months from now, I'd like to see us have one more physical therapist, one more adult strength coach, a new location that we're moving into. That's probably going to be more at the 12-month mark where we're moved in and operating. I'd like to see our nutrition clientele triple. And I'd like to see 4 or 5 more strong corporate wellness relationships with companies that are at the 75 to 500 person mark or greater, but those are kind of our sweet spot types of companies that we work with, because you can get a lot of locally based businesses that also have the smaller team feel, but the capacity to do something with us that some other places.
So how are you trying planning to achieve the talent acquisition right there and also the new expansion plan? So you have
The
everything.
talent acquisition really has never been a big challenge for us because we've had a lot of talent that wants to come work for us. We just haven't always had the opportunity to get it going. We just haven't had the matching clientele, or we have a lot of people that want to come and work the evenings, but we only need a certain amount of people in the evenings and we need people in the mornings. So sometimes it's just a matter of getting the availability of some of the talent to mirror our needs. Sometimes the timing just isn't right for our needs versus theirs. Sometimes we have a need, but someone that previously reached out or wants to work for us isn't ready or moving to town at that time. It just can vary, but it's finding the talent, I wouldn't say has been a huge problem for us. I would say that's that's not a big challenge.
And what about adding 4 clients for the wellness side?
That I've had some good success with. I would say that largely has been on me to just stay consistent with. And I've got a couple other people that I've given some smaller tasks to that could lead to bigger payoffs
Hmm.
in that area. We just need to continue to work together to do that. And that one is, I would say, on me the most.
Okay, so you're probably all set for next 6 to 12 months.
Oh, so far I feel pretty good about it. I just feel like a lot of it is something that always was preached from a football and athlete perspective.
Hmm.
Staying disciplined, staying consistent, and staying focused. I had a handful of coaches at the college and pro level that always talked about just do your job. And they always made that statement to, each player is really look at and focus at every single thing that you can do that's in your job that contributes to the whole team. And don't try to stray out of that because that's not what's needed from you. You do you to the best you can and
Hmm.
count, rely on, and push your teammate to also do the same. And the more of us that are all doing that all together is going to get us to where we want to go. If we got people that are losing focus, losing interest, and not operating at their highest level, then we're not going to get there together. So continue to stay focused and disciplined, I would say, is the biggest thing we need to do.
That's a really good advice. So, yeah, one last question. So, if you could solve one major challenge in your business growth today, what would it be?
One major challenge in our business growth is always just getting new leads or more leads. I mean, I would say more qualified leads, but just more leads would continue to give us the opportunity to get to where we want to go. Because with more leads, we usually have pretty good conversion rates. So just getting more leads and more traffic is kind of the place that we're at now. But we have a little plan ready to go to get us some people going to that forefront too.
Awesome. Awesome, Jeron. I think that's the end. And this has been an incredible conversation from
Yeah,
your
enjoy it.
journey into NFL to what you're building right now with Apex. Really appreciate you sharing your insights and perspective with us today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. It was really fun.